everyone, it's AJ. Today I want to share with you some tufting tips that are going to help you improve your technique. These are some things that I do that I think really take the rugs that I make to the next level. Mostly this video is going to focus on how to get really clean lines on your rugs, specifically if you're using a cut pile machine. I enjoy being able to sculpt my rugs. That's something that I've gotten more heavily into lately. It's just pretty incredible how clean and crisp you're able to get your lines when you use a sculpting tool like carpet shears and a cut pile machine. I'm gonna share some of these tips with y'all today. This is more, I'd say, intermediate for folks who have already began their journey and have already maybe created a few rugs but are really just looking to take them to the next level. Before we get into the video, I want to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsor, which is Tuft the World. Tuft the World is a one-stop shop for all of your tufting needs. Whether you're looking to begin your tufting journey with a starter kit or perhaps just looking to improve your rug quality with some new backing material or perhaps some carpet clippers, which I'm going to be talking about extensively today because I'm obsessed with them. Tuft the World really has it all. So if you want to place an order, you can use code MAGIC15 for 15% off at tuftinggun.com. All right, let's get back into the video. The first step we're going to cover is sculpting. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, you've probably seen me use the Wall brand hair clippers that I have recommended people give a try. They're like $30 from Target and they work pretty well. However, I recently got a new tool that has seriously changed the game. These work so well. It has gotten me very inspired and excited to take my rugs to the next level because I really feel like this tool is allowing me to do that. And that is the carpet sculpting clippers from Tuft the World. I am not just hyping these up because they are the sponsor of today's video. They work incredibly well as long as you take good care of them, you keep them clean, you oil them up, and they're only like $90 in the shop. I'm gonna be using these today. I'm gonna show you how magical they are. As you can see behind me, I've made a number of these Queer Magic rugs, and I feel like I have perfected my process with these rugs recently. I have sections of each letter already tufted, and what I like to do is just pick one section and then I sculpt that section, and then I'll go back through and tuft another little bit, and then I'll sculpt that bit. The reason I like doing this is because when you're trying to get into corners and cracks, the likelihood that you're going to accidentally tear a hole in your tufting fabric gets higher. If you can learn anything from my mistakes, it is that as magical and amazing as these are, you really have to keep an eye out for how it's angled in relation to your tufting fabric. I have cut 2 holes in this frame already, but fear not, I have also discovered a way to patch those holes, and I will link that video for you here. Okay, next we're gonna turn this frame around and get going with these shears. So as you can see here, each of these rugs are in various states of completion. This is kind of what we're going for. So these have all been sculpted, and you can see that each line is really sharp and crisp. We want to get this on that level. Before I get sculpting, I am going to grab a face mask because microfibers get everywhere. Cool. So obviously we just need to plug this in. This has a dial which you can turn the power up on or down. I've been just keeping it kind of like a little bit high, but not super high. Use this edge to your advantage. So think of this as like your safe edge. If this is touching the fabric, it will not cut through the fabric. So I try to angle this in a way where this is always kind of kissing the fabric so I know that the fabric isn't getting hit by the actual blade. And the way I do that is by angling it at kind of like a 45-degree angle, like this, and shearing like that. So here is the difference between this sculpted letter and this, which is what it looked like before it was sculpted. You may have noticed that another thing that I'll do is place the shears flush up against the fabric and kind of wiggle outward. So making sure that that either this back part is right up against the fabric or this corner piece, which doesn't have a blade, is against the fabric. Those are your guaranteed ways to prevent holes. The one other thing I would recommend, that anything you're going to be sculpting, you want the yarn to be pretty dense in that area. That way you have a lot to work with while you are sculpting. The next step for a nice, clean, and crisp finished rug is to choose a grain direction. Now this might be obvious to some people, but it wasn't obvious to me when I first started. I would kind of just go whatever direction I felt like going. So maybe sometimes I would do some horizontal lines and sometimes I would do some vertical lines. And what happens when you do that is you can actually kind of see the indentation of those lines on the finished piece. If you're doing something kind of like this, where you have a foreground object or word or shape, etc., and then you're filling the background in, you want to make sure that the larger shapes and the background is filled all going in one direction. And I'll show you what that looks like on some of these other rugs. So as you can see here, in most of the space that I filled the clouds and the sky with, I used vertical lines going up and down. So I'm going to get to tufting my vertical blue lines for the sky of these rugs. I will check back in with y'all when I am finished with these pieces and ready to do the final sculpting and shearing. Before we move on to our last step, which is shearing and finishing, I want to see if maybe you can see the grain direction on these rugs. Not very noticeable. Doing a final shear will make the tufting direction a little bit less noticeable, but it is definitely something that you might notice yourself in your finished pieces. You can kind of see that direction of the tufted line that you make. So onto our final step, which is shearing and finishing. Now you can do quite a lot of sculpting while the rug is still on the frame. I tend to like to sculpt my shapes on the frame and then tuft the background or fill in, and then I'll glue and finish the backs of the rugs, and then I'll do the final shearing and sculpting. I personally just like finishing the back before I do the shearing because I want to make sure that the raw edge of the fabric isn't like getting anywhere, because we will be vacuuming a lot and we don't want that to get sucked up. Once the rugs are finished on the back, then I do my final shearing. There are a few tools that I'll use, the main of which is my sheep shears. So these are the Beach Row sheep shears I've showed in another video, but they are featuring a shearing platform that Tuft the World has sent me, which is seriously a game changer. This thing makes using these shears so much easier. One of the things that's a little bit tricky with these sheep shears is that they're a bit heavy and kind of make my wrists sore after a while. And it's also a little bit tricky to get good leverage in order to create a consistent angle that you're shearing the rug in. But this platform allows you to keep a consistent angle and also allows you to distribute pressure in other places that aren't just like by holding on to the weight of the sheep shears, if that makes sense. It makes it super easy, and you get a nice uniform pile height at the end of it. And then sometimes I might just stop there. It depends on the look that I'm going for, but with these rugs in particular, I like to make the letters and the shapes and the clouds and the stars pop out a little bit. And the way that I do that is by taking the trusty carpet sculptors and just going through around each line of the letters and the clouds and the shapes, etc. All of the things that I have already sculpted, I go through and kind of pull back the background color. So in this case, it's the light blue background that I'm just kind of shearing back a little bit to reveal the sculpted edge of that letter or that cloud that I already did. And then lastly, I will just go through with scissors after I have vacuumed many times and just kind of do some finishing touches. Sometimes I'll miss like little pieces that I need to go through and just snip. It's pretty amazing how much you can do with just scissors. Obviously, your wrists are gonna hurt after a while with this repetitive motion, but it's definitely worth it in some cases. Once all of that is done, then I will obviously vacuum more, and then we're finished. I'm really stoked with these rugs. I feel like they represent my cleanest work to date. I probably have a little bit more fine tuning on these because I spend a lot of time continuing to like snip little pieces of yarn that I missed. That'll be it for today's video. Let me know what you think down below. If you have any questions, feel free to pop those down there as well. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know it's just a small little thing, but it does help me continue to create videos like this in the future for y'all. I want to say thanks again to our sponsor, Tuft the World, not only for sponsoring today's video, but also just continuing to put out really awesome products that are keeping me excited and engaged with tufting and offering new tools to just like have fun with and continue to learn with. Good luck on your projects. Have fun becoming a yarn sculptor. That's kind of what I feel like now. I will talk to you soon. Bye!